and make fun of you. I thought you were really, kind of lame and all that. But I really liked you people. And so I said, this power greater than myself. I wasn't about to call it God yet. I called it the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is helping me to have sanity, which was mean soundness of mind. Second step, no problem. Third step, big problem. Big problem for me because, I'd hear all these people talk about God. I still don't really believe in God. So I just couldn't handle it. I figured I'm going to write my fourth step out. And I went to this guy, Bob B., the late Bob B., who was my age, but he had 10 more years of sobriety than me. And I said, listen, I want to do the fourth step with you, fifth step. And I had all this thing about fear and, in my fourth step about how I was afraid of this, afraid of that, how nothing really worked out and all that. And and then have no faith. I don't really have anything that, I don't really have anything solid in my life. And he just said to me, he says, and I said, I don't believe in God. He says, well, when, what do you want? I said, I want God to come on TV and speak to me. I want God to come on TV and say, Dan, I exist. I want you to follow me. I want, and I'll help you. And he said, I don't think that's going to happen, Dan. And I said, well, and I says, what do you think? He says, do you think it would be better for you if you had a God in your life? And what I said, I says, in AA, it definitely would help me because I felt funny with all these people always talking about God. And I was kind of afraid to say I didn't believe in God at meetings and all that. And I think there's a lot of people right here who will listen to me, especially young people who don't like this God stuff. It tells us in our big book that about half of our original 100 members considered themselves atheists or agnostics when they first started this. So I wasn't alone, and I kind of knew that, and he just sat back. He says, what do you want to do, Dan? He says, it's just a decision for you to make. Do you want to make a decision to turn your life and will over to the care of God as you understand them, some kind of God, and maybe believe in that? It's up to you. It's not up to me. It's not up to anybody else. And he sat there. And to me, it seemed like hours, not hours. It seemed like about 10 minutes, but it might have been only 30 seconds or 45 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes. I don't know. And then all of a sudden I was getting antsy. I didn't know what to do. I said, I figured he's waiting for me. I said, okay, Bob, here it comes. I believe in God. I'm turning my life and will over to the care of God. And it happened. The magic, AA, whatever we want to call it, the spiritual awakening. All of a sudden I got the chills and I felt myself almost levitate. It was like I was sweating. And then all of a sudden I came back and all of a sudden, and Bob just goes to me, he goes, heavy stuff, huh, Dan? And I go, it is. Something happened. I don't know what it is, but it happened. And that is I call it as my spiritual awakening. And it happened, I would say in October. I got sober in February. So it happened in October. So I had 8 months? And that's when that happened. And that was the big change for me in AA. I stopped having these uneasy feelings and going to meetings and hearing these people, I thought they were next to, like a TV evangelist. Some of these guys would get up in AA and talk about God doing this, God doing that, God saved me from this. And I felt comfortable with it, and I had a God of my understanding or ununderstanding that I don't quite understand, but at least I felt good about it. And somebody who I can say, thank you, God, thanks for another sober day. Simple stuff like that. So after that, I believe in God now. So I can do the 6th and 7th step. I'm willing to let God take away my character defects. Why not? Of course. And I was willing to make my amends. I The big amends I had to make was to my son. Can you imagine? I mean, this is what alcoholism does. I look back on it, from 2 to 7, I was out of his life. I wasn't in the area. He didn't see me. He didn't have a father. He didn't, and that's, I really felt bad about that, very guilty. And it affects somebody when you do that, growing up like that. So I made my amends to him. And eventually it worked. It took a while, but we have a good relationship now. He's 48, so it's a little different. He's a grown man, you know. Um, so and I made amends to other people, people who I felt I had to make amends to. Some, I'm telling you perfectly honestly, some people I didn't make amends to. I didn't think they deserved it. Like my first wife, it took me almost 30 years to finally make amends to her. But this is a lifetime process, This is not an overnight matter. It tells us in the book. So I finally did reach out years later, and she was very happy. It was very good that I did that. I kept on thinking about it, instead of blaming her, that's what, if I can't make amends and I can't forgive somebody, I keep on blaming, and I have to get out of that. So and I would read this other stuff. So, initially, like the 10th and 11th step, very small things that I would do. I started to read this book here, which the old timers know about this book. This is the book that we read. It's called 24 Hours a Day. It was published, I think, in the 50s by Hazelton. It was actually written by an AA guy from Boston, uh, you know, and he wanted to give it to AA, and a lot of people in AA were using it. AA decided they didn't really want to publish it. So we finally did publish this book in, I think, 93, which is the Reflections. So, but I started reading this, and I started my spiritual practice was waking up in the morning and thanking God for another day of sobriety. And that's what I did. And that's how it went for a while. And, there was no big meditation or anything like that. And I would look at, but I would look at things maybe I'm doing wrong, reflect and all that. Was able to do that at the beginning. And the 12th step, I was willing to help. I went to meetings and they told me this is what I would do. It made me feel better to be part of a group, to make coffee. It's funny, the first job they gave me, I didn't have a lot of time. I became the booker. The booker at the Friday nights, it was Friday nights, the Better Days group in New Paltz, New York. And I would go to these booking meetings and get the bookers. And then we'd go to these different meetings and we'd organize, they'd come into our group and speak. And then we'd drive out to them. And then I remember Beth and she used to go with me a lot to these meetings. And we really liked it. We'd get you had these big old 8-cylinder giant vehicles like these Buicks and Oldsmobiles, and you'd have 7 people in them, and you'd go to these meetings maybe in Poughkeepsie or Woodstock or something like that. You'd drive and take a half hour to get there, and we'd put on the meeting, and it was really fun. That's what it was like for us. That was the experience we had. 85 was a really good year for me. 85, I got my career job, which I retired from a local utility in New York, and I really liked the work. Here was the guy who hated work, absolutely hated it. And then I remember some of my friends would say, this was not an easy job to get, too. And some of my friends would say, they hired you? People who I used to work with, they knew my attitude. And I says, yeah, I changed a little bit, So, and then I retired and then moved to Arizona in 2008. Also in 85, Beth and I got married. So we've been married for, 35 years through the program. Without the program, I don't know if we would have left. I would have never met her. And then I stayed, I kind of stayed in AA, I've never left. Sometimes the active participation maybe dwindled a little bit, but I've never left AA, and I've always had friends in AA. 99 was a tough year. 99. First February, my father passed away. Didn't drink. September, my mother passed away. Didn't drink. November, my stepson John drove into this deep creek, river, whatever you want to call it. Somebody, there were four people in the vehicle. Only three of them got out. He went to prison. He went to state prison for 5 years because of this. He had four kids, young, and they had to be split up. I didn't want anything to do with it. I kind of lost. I kind of got very self-centered, let's put it that way, not looking at this maybe as an opportunity to be helpful and just thinking about myself. And I didn't really want anything. Beth wanted to take the youngest granddaughter, and she was 5 or 6 at the time. And I told her no. I said, I don't really want any more kids in the house. I'm in my mid-50s. I've had enough with kids. I don't really want to bring up any more kids. And we almost broke up over this. And finally, I don't know, I think God came into my life again and kicked me in the head and said, what the hell are you doing, Dan? You are so selfish. You don't even, this little girl, this beautiful little girl, you don't want her in your house? You don't want it because it might inconvenience you? You can't go on this vacation you want to go on or do this? You're a really selfish person. And this is kind of the thoughts. This is what I learned from you. What to do. I reflected. And I realized I had to change. And I told Beth, I said, please, let's bring her here. And that was probably one of the smartest things I've ever done next to come to AA. Having my granddaughter live with us for 5 years. She was great. And I really love her a lot. And we've had great times with her. And so I like to tell this story. So she finally was living with us for, I don't know, I had to have a knee operation. And here I am in my, I finally got out of the hospital and I'm sleeping downstairs. We had a 2-story one. All the bedrooms were upstairs. I'm downstairs. I can't make it up the stairs. And she comes down the first night and she goes, hey, Pop, I'm going to sleep down here with you. She's got a blanket or whatever she had, and she's sleeping on the floor right next to my bed. And she goes, I'm taking care of you tonight because if you get up, I don't want you falling when you go, if you have to go to the bathroom or something like that. And I says, you get up right now. Get upstairs. She goes, nope, I'm staying here. You took care of me for all these years. Now I'm taking care of you. So what could I say? And she was, and now she's 23 and I really, we have a great relationship and, she lived with us for 5 years. But the other part of that was her father, who I was kind of very angry at. I can use some other language, but I'll just say, let's say I was angry at him for what he did and being irresponsible. And I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't go up to visit him in prison. And it was really, and Beth would go up and she'd go up with my granddaughter and, I wasn't going up. And I realized that this was eating at me. I was angry at him. And I realized what I had to do. I had to make my amends to him to have forgiveness, not just to say, I forgive you for what you did, because he used to, I'm sorry. I heard that a lot. I didn't want to hear that, but what I wrote him as a letter, and I says, I'm really sorry I haven't been more supportive to you. I hope you will forgive me for not being supportive for you. You didn't do this on purpose. I know that. So he was very happy when he got this letter. Obviously, he wrote me, and I went up, and everything was pretty good with him. And then finally, what we did is he came back out, and he's done okay. He's done fine. Beth and I decided to retire. Our granddaughter went back to live with her parents, and we moved here. I wanted to retire. I wanted to go to the Southwest, and I didn't know about, Arizona AA or treatment here and all that stuff. All that stuff was going on here. I just started to go to meetings here, And what I got here is I got a little more involved because I used to think my job was so important, and I couldn't really make too many commitments in AA. I worked a lot of hours and I had these hobbies. I had this hiking thing, this obsession, whatever you want to call it. I had to do all these mountains, and I'd be going to New Hampshire. I'd be going here and going there. And so I came here. I got more involved. I had all this time too on my hands. So I asked God what direction I should be going in, and He says, you know a lot about AA. You got a lot of time. Why don't you get more involved? And I made a decision to get more involved. And with the help of people here, what I did is I volunteered again to do corrections, which I did in New York. And they stuck me with this guy, this old timer, who sends his best to everybody in Prescott, Steve K, my sponsor. I spoke to him today. And he's a newcomer. He's only got 60 years now, but they stuck me with him, and I really liked this guy. He was really cool. He was so enthusiastic. Something that I don't have that. I can't get that excited. But he was so enthusiastic. We'd go to jail, and he'd come out of jail, and he'd go, "That was the best meeting I've ever been in," and he'd get like that, and you'd meet somebody new, he would just, and I said, yeah. So I said, this is the guy I need, I would like, and again, I find a man of religion to help me. He is an Episcopal priest, and so I asked him to be my sponsor, and of course, and we started doing some work together. And the way I think he really helped me was going through the steps, and his enthusiasm for the program, and doing that. So when we did the steps again, and what he had me do is, which I think really helped, there's a lot of people here who I've worked with, I see people here, and I still do the same thing with them, what he does. He had me for the 6th and 7th step. He says, listen, here's what I want you to do. I want you to make up 2 prayers. One, a gratitude of faith, and the other, asking God for help with your character defects. So so I thought about it, and this is what I do. So what I want to do is, my gratitude of faith is, I take my assets. We all have assets, not just liabilities. So this is what I made up. And with Steve's encouragement, God, I thank you for my acceptance of my alcoholism, my trust and willingness to accept your will. May your will be that gratitude will allow me to share my new way of life and faith with other alcoholics. And I say that every day when I start my 20-minute quiet time. And then he also said, because I don't know about you people, but my character defects haven't just been washed away. God hasn't taken them all away, when I did my 6th and 7th steps. It is a lifetime process. This is what I've learned. So the 3rd step, what he suggested I do is maybe use the 3rd step and then ask what you think you need help with. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thy will. Relieve me of false pride, selfishness, fear, expectation of others, anger, resentment, and impatience. May I do thy will always. And this is what I use today. And just continually use it. And this is what helps me. So other stuff that I started to get more involved, just that. I've been involved with this group. I've had some positions in general service with the district in the area, which has helped me in a group that I really like. A lot of the things have been taken away too, which, but what have I gotten from Zoom, I never thought I could do it, take people through the steps without meeting them in person. Oh, you got to meet them in person. You got to sit down with them one to one in the car. I did a lot of step work in my vehicle. I don't like coffee shops. I like coffee, but I don't like coffee shops. It's not private. So I would, I have, I like to take a ride in my vehicle and we do the steps and read. That's how I used to do it. Now I can use this Zoom format or I can use the phone. We can read the book straight through and do the steps. We also, Beth and I had a step study in probably think it was in 10 or 11, and we got it from Author S from Texas. And what we did is we kind of cut it down and did a lot of different things with it. And we have a 7-part step study, which a lot of people in this area have used. It's been spread around, and it's a way of doing it. It's a way of you taking it, you take it home, you do your reading, you answer your questions, and then you come back with us and we do the work together. And we have a way of doing the 4th and 5th step. I do that, and I also do just reading the big book. I like doing that too. I've started to do, just to go through the steps with reading the big book. There's a lot of different ways, and we all don't do it the same way. There's a lot of people I see on here who sponsor people, and we all don't do it the same way, but we do it the same basic way. We use the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that Bill wrote in the book Alcoholics Anonymous with the help of some other people. There was a lot of great things that as Bill was publishing it, he got some really good ideas, to get rid of this "you ought to" stuff. And this is what we did. This is our experience, in getting away and not having it, so definitive. You got to do it this way, you're going to get drunk. I don't believe that. I don't know who's going to get sober and who's going to get drunk. I would never, try to. I can't guess. I tried and I don't know. So, but I've done a lot of really interesting stuff in AA. I've had the opportunities in my travels to go to different meetings and spread the word of Alcoholics Anonymous. Couple of stories in 2011, 2010, Beth and I went to Nepal. I've been to Nepal 2 other times for hiking, trekking, they call it. But I wanted to go into Kathmandu and spend some time there in Pokhara, and I thought I was going to work with people who were hiking. But what happened is, which was really cool, I got to work with Nepali people. And the first meeting we went to, it was great. I finally found out where it is. I made contact with this Nepali guy, and he was there to help me. And I says, I want to go to this hospital, Patan Hospital, it's called. And we get there. I knew there was a meeting there. This is a 3rd world hospital. It's not the best in the world. But we got in there and we walk into this meeting, and there's this man there. And I said, "Is this AA?" He goes, "Yes, it is." And I introduced myself, and I says, I'm Dan and Beth. She said, Beth. And we're here, we want to do AA. We're here to, we want to work with people doing the 12 steps. And he says, "Thank God. I've been praying for a long time for somebody to come through and do the steps with me." He was there. He had a sponsor, and the sponsor left. And he was going to this meeting, I don't know how many, 2 times a week, driving on his little motor scooter, 45 minutes. And I think it was about a month. He says, nobody came. He would just sit there. We went through the steps. He'd come to the hotel. We would go over the steps, and I'm good friends with him today. We don't communicate all the time, but we do occasionally. And he was very grateful for what happened. Another time in Greece, Beth and I wanted to go in a bookstore. I wanted to get a book in a bookstore. And I walk into this bookstore, and there's this young man there, and I tell him what I'm looking for, and he said, "How about a drink?" And I says, "Well, no, thank you. I just want to." He says, "You sure? I want to have. Why don't you have a drink with me?" And I don't. I says, "Listen," I says, I don't know if you understand this. I don't drink anymore. I'm what you call as an alcoholic, and I can't drink." And he started crying, and he says, "Me too." And we sat there, talked to him for a long. It was the last day. It was in Crete, and it was the last day we were going to be there. And I just said, we were trying to make a connection, and he said he was going to go. I don't know if he went, but I'm telling you something. It helped me. It helped me a lot. There's so many other things that's happened in AA, traveling and here and just going to different meetings all over. It's such a gift. And, that the whole idea of that, all of a sudden I've stuck with this for all these years. It doesn't, it seems pretty obvious to me now that I would, from what I've gotten from it, how I've had this spiritual awakening and met all these people and have purpose in my life that I wouldn't otherwise. 40 years ago, this is the last thing I ever thought I'd be doing, being 72 years old, talking into a computer, telling you about my life in Alcoholics Anonymous. But this is, without a doubt, the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life is that I decided to go to Alcoholics Anonymous and meet you and get the word from Dr. Bob and Bill and all those other people who started this whole thing. I am so appreciative of what they've done. And I'm one of the real lucky ones that I've been sober since my first day, my first meeting that I've gone to. I've never, think that this is it. Not that I've not thought about drinking or, everything has been perfect. It hasn't, but it's given me a way to live and to get through these things. And I want to thank everybody who, here for listening to me. And this is the end for me, and I'm going to sign off right now. So thanks everybody for coming to the meeting.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks a lot. Congratulations again. Paulie has volunteered to read A Vision for You. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Paulie.
Hey everybody, my name is Paulie. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Dan. Happy birthday. Love you. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you till then.
Paulie,